And I'm attaching this first signature to the cover. I don't use the weight because you have to actually move the signature off of it. But from this point on, I like to use a weight just to hold it still, to make sure it does the things that I want it to do and doesn't fly around like it has been for me. So what you're going to want to do is take the thread back up through its pairing hole. So I'm going to just go straight up. When you're doing this stitch, try not to pierce your thread with your needle because it will cause your thread to wear if it's pierced. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want it to break. Make sure you're pulling tight. And then once I thread it through those holes, I'm going to cross it. So I'm going to take my right side, bring it through the hole on my left, and then I'm going to take my left side and bring it through the hole on my right.
You don't have a decent amount of...
You have to have a decent amount of holes. So, yes. It's kind of how this one stitch works. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Bring it up through its pairing hole. When you're doing the stitch, as I was saying before, don't use this thread. It will break because you're bringing it through the hole so many times that it frays and it breaks. And make sure you use a waxed thread. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to cross it over. Just like this. Okay, now I'm ready to put on my next signature. What I like to do, especially when you're using the wax thread, because you have so much mass building up in these small parts between your pairing hole, I like to take my bone folder, or I have this Teflon folder, and I like to smash it down. So it will kind of smash down your thread so it all stays a little bit more consistent. So I'm going to take my next signature, just slip it right on top, and then put the weight on, just like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to bring the needle up through that same hole, directly right up. It gets easy from now on, just so you know. And then I'm going to cross it over again. So bring my right to my left, and my left to my right. Doesn't matter the order on this one.
So what other kind of thread can you use as a fiber thread? Or set it?
Linen thread. I have my archery thread that I like to use, and I've tested out different threads. Like I've used upholstery thread and carpet thread, and it doesn't work. It's pretty crazy how easy they will break. So, okay, now that I've crossed it over and brought it back through the hole, this is the next part of the stitch. You want to attach the top signature to the signature below it. So this is the part where it's right to left that's important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this needle and I'm going to go underneath the signature below it. So I'm putting the needle between the signature and the board. So does everyone see where the needle is? Okay, so what I'm going to do is going right to left. I'm going to put the needle on the right side, and I'm going to bring it behind the sewing station on the bottom. Make sure when you're doing this that you don't put it underneath the thread that's attaching your cover board. Don't put it underneath. Make sure it's on top. Okay, so I'm going to put it behind, left to right, just like this. So it's just like that, and then just pull up. That's all you do.
Okay.
Yeah, this is making sense. Yay, I love it.
So the same thing, I'm taking the thread on this side, I'm pivoting it underneath the signature below it, and I'm going from the right side, and this is why you want a curved needle, so you can do it around. And then bring it up, just like this. And you want to make sure you're pulling it tight. You can pull tight or loose. I like to pull tight, but make sure you're consistent. Otherwise you'll have thin parts of your stitching and then thick parts. So that's the key with this stitch is consistency. You want to be consistent. And then just let those needles hang.
Did you go to the bottom signature?
Yeah, so what I'm doing is the signature below it, I'm going underneath it. So my needle's going between the cover board and the signature.
So for our next signature, we'll go the one above that we just,
Uh-huh.
so it's always one below.
It's always the one below. Yep. So, bring it through.